You've just been handed a demand gen budget and have been asked to drive pipeline. And everyone, your LinkedIn feed, your agency, probably someone even in your last all hands, is telling you that AEO is the next big thing. If you're not optimizing for AI search right now, you're already behind. But your boss is still asking about Google rankings, and your CFO wants to know which channel is actually driving revenue. And you're stuck in the middle wondering where to actually put money. So, where should you put your money? In SEO or AEO or both? Well, here are some numbers that quantify the shift that's happening right now. Monthly visits to ChatGPT doubled in a single year. It went from 2.6 billion to 5.8 billion. US Google search volume in the same period dropped 20%. Gartner is projecting a 25% decline in traditional search volume by 2026. Buyers are definitely moving, and AEO certainly is not just hype. On a personal note as well, one of my clients that typically didn't get a lot of value from SEO began seeing huge presence in AI overviews and LLM referral traffic spikes. This is because their ICP was more comfortable taking their long-tail queries to LLMs than to Google. This behavior is changing in real time. So again, SEO or AEO, where exactly should you put your budget? Well, the answer is in neither. And I'll unpack exactly why in this video. So here's the problem with the SEO versus AEO question. B2B buyer journeys are complex. A prospect might discover you through a Google search, research you on ChatGPT, read a case study on your site, see you mentioned in some industry publication, and then convert on a demo request 3 weeks later. So which channel exactly gets the credit here? Nobody can tell you this. And anyone who says they can is probably selling you an attribution model, not an answer. So if you can't measure it cleanly, how do you decide where to invest? Well, the answer is that you stop thinking in channels and start thinking in terms of content principles. Because here's what's true about both Google and LLMs. They're both prediction-based engines. They scan content, group it, and surface it based on what information they expect to appear in a given context. The underlying mechanism is different, but the implication for you as a marketer is pretty much the same. Good content, structured well, distributed broadly, wins on both channels. There's no channel-specific optimization that's required. And that's the frame for everything that follows. So here are the 3 things that move the needle. And none of them are channel-specific, and none of them require you to choose between SEO and AEO. The first principle is starting with customer pain points. Don't start with keywords, not the topics your competitors are ranking for. Start with the actual language your customers use when they're trying to solve a problem. Now, here's why this matters more than it ever did. In my previous video, I broke down research showing ChatGPT's internal search queries have doubled in word count in just 4 months. They're basically getting longer, more specific, and more conversational. The link to the video is up here, so do check it out. Now, none of this is a coincidence. It reflects how people actually talk when they're trying to solve a real problem. And the content that gets retrieved for these longer, more specific queries is the content that's written in the same language. It needs to reflect what your customers are actually searching for. So when you build your content from genuine customer pain points, you're not optimizing for an algorithm. You're optimizing for the human behind the query instead. And both Google and LLMs essentially follow that signal from there. Now, I have a full video on how I did this for a client where I turned over 1,500 customer calls into a content strategy. That's where this methodology lives, dropping the link up here, and do check it out. The second principle is to get your on-page structure right. Now, here's the thing to understand. As I said, both Google and LLMs are prediction engines. This is worth sitting with for a second because it has real implications for how you create your content. When a model scans your page, and again, this could be Google or an LLM, it's making probabilistic inferences about what information should appear next based on the patterns it's seen across millions of other documents. It's not really reading your content the way a human does. It's basically pattern matching. So what this means practically is if your content is disorganized or buries the answer or meanders before getting to the point, the model just loses confidence in it. If it doesn't fit an expected pattern, it gets passed over. So good on-page structure means getting to the point quickly. It means using headers that tell the model what's coming next and answering the question before you explain it. Don't build up to a conclusion like, say, a university essay. You also need to run a basic SEO analysis to see what existing results are already covering. And then you essentially improve on that, either with an angle, an insight, or a data point that none of them have. If you do this consistently, you're building content that fits the expected pattern and then exceeds it. Now, let me share my screen real quick, and you can look at an example of what a good structure actually is. You can see like this blog over here. This is something that my team and I produced for this client, and you can see immediately, yes, there is this colon over here, but generally the title is very straightforward. So this is a deeper funnel article. It's not top funnel. So SEO is not really the aim over here, but you can see it clearly tells the visitor like what exactly this particular piece of content addresses. And then you can see the key takeaways right on top. This is basically for the LLMs and the human reader. It instantly says like what the problem is. There's a deeper issue involved. This is the effect of that deeper issue, and this is a solution. It's very straightforward. It's well organized. They understand this. You can see the introduction is really short. It's essentially written for the human being. Pulls the reader in, and then clearly this is targeted towards the ICP. There's an executive takeaway as well in case people don't want to read it. And then you can see the difference in the headers immediately. Like it's very specific. It's very action oriented. It tells you exactly what to expect. So if an LLM is reading this page, it knows exactly, what to expect in successive sections. It clearly says how the brand eliminates problems and so on. So this is an example of, a good piece of content, I would say. And generally, this is how you want to structure your content. And everything that's done on this page reflects best practices. Now, before we get to the third principle, I want to be direct about something. Everything I've described so far is what good content marketing has always looked like. The principles have changed. What's changed is that the distribution layer now includes LLMs, and that raises the stakes for getting the basics right. If your content is weak, you used to just not rank on Google. Now you don't rank on Google and you don't get cited in AI answers either. Basically, the threshold of content quality has increased, which is counterintuitive when you think about narratives around AI swap and LLM generated content. But this is how it really works. The third principle is to expand your off-page footprint. Now, this is the one that most people treat as optional, but it really isn't. Here's the reason why. LLMs wait cross-document confirmation before deciding what to cite. So in plain English, this means that if your brand, your ideas, and your content appears consistently across multiple independent sources, for example, industry publications, podcasts, etc., the model treats you as more trustworthy. It's not just about backlinking as how we used to think about in SEO. This is about genuine presence across the places where your ICP already visits. So what does this actually look like in practice? Well, it means getting published in industry publications your buyers read, not for the traffic, but for the citation signal. It means repurposing your content into formats beyond just the written word. So video, for example. Transcripts of video content fed into retrieval can definitely enhance your brand presence across multiple channels. And they also give LLMs a signal that, you are present in multiple channels in different ways. It also means playing a longer game than most demand gen programs are comfortable with. Off-page presence compounds. A mention in one publication leads to another. A video gets transcribed and indexed. A podcast appearance gets cited in a blog post, and so on. None of this looks like a clean attribution line, but all of it builds a signal that gets you cited when a buyer asks an LLM who to trust in the process. Now, these three principles work as a system, not independently. Customer language feeds your content, good structure makes that content retrievable, off-page presence makes it trustworthy. Pull on one without the others and you'll see partial results. But build on all three, and both Google and LLMs will take care of themselves. So the original question was SEO or AEO? Well, how do you know that the question itself is incorrect? The marketers who win in this environment won't be the ones who are thinking in terms of channels. They'll be the ones who build content that serves the buyer regardless of where the buyer is searching. The distribution layer has changed, but the principles haven't. And if you want to go deeper on the AEO-specific side, things like fanout analysis, citation tracking, visibility gaps, that's all real and worth understanding. But it only comes after you've nailed these basics, not instead of them. If this was useful, share it with someone on your team who's being asked to choose between SEO and AEO right now. They need to see this before they spend the budget. And if you found this useful, please do subscribe. See you in the next one.